empires rise, kings fall. But the hand of God endures forever. From famine to slavery, from palace halls to desert sands, one story echoes through time. The story of a God who hears the cries of his people. This is the epic journey, from Joseph to Moses, from chains to freedom. A little backstory is in order. Long ago, there was a man named Abraham who was faithful to God. Abraham longed to bear children but couldn't, even in his old age of over 90 years. One day God promised him that his generation will be as numerous as the uncountable stars, and his wife conceived at the age of 90 years and bore him a son named Isaac. He had another son named Ishmael, with his wife, Sarah's servant Hagar. But today, we will focus on the son of promise, Isaac. Isaac grew up and married Rebekah, with whom he had twin sons, Esau and Jacob. Jacob, who lived in Canaan, had one daughter and 12 sons who are now referred to as the 12 tribes of Israel, as Jacob, their father, was renamed Israel by God. Jacob showed favor to one of his sons over the others, and it bred jealousy and hatred toward the favored son, Joseph. Out of jealousy, Joseph's older brothers plotted to kill him, but one of the brothers, Judah, suggested they sell him instead, and they sold him to some merchants passing to Egypt. These merchants later sold Joseph to Potiphar, a general in Pharaoh's army. Joseph was faithful in his duties until his master's wife tried to seduce him and failed. She falsely accused him and had him thrown into prison, but God had so many plans for Joseph outside that prison. And by the gift of interpretation of dreams, Joseph got out of prison. He interpreted a strange dream that Pharaoh had, and this saved the entire land of Egypt. For this reason, Joseph was promoted to greatness. He was made governor of Egypt. When famine struck the land of Canaan, God had already prepared a savior for Jacob's family, Jacob's favorite son, Joseph, who was once sold by his brothers to be a slave, now a ruler in Egypt. Pharaoh welcomed Joseph's family into Goshen, where they prospered. In Genesis 47:27 it says, "Now the Israelites settled in Egypt in the region of Goshen. They acquired property there and were fruitful and increased greatly in number." This was possible because of Joseph's history with the Pharaoh. Joseph interpreted the dreams of Pharaoh when no magician in Egypt could, and Pharaoh put Joseph in charge of everything. He made Joseph governor of Egypt, but as time passes, Jacob, the patriarch, blesses his sons and prophesies over their future tribes. Then, with his dying breath, he makes Joseph swear to carry his body back to Canaan. After Joseph and his brothers buried their father, his brothers thought Joseph would take revenge against them for selling him in the first place, but Joseph comforted his brothers with these words, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done. The saving of many lives. Joseph too would die in Egypt, but he made the Israelites promise. God will surely come to your aid, and then you must carry my bones up from this place." Many generations passed. Joseph, his brothers and all who knew them died, but their families multiplied in Egypt. Joseph was forgotten. A new Pharaoh arose, a ruler who feared Israel's growing numbers. He didn't have any history with Joseph, nor did he have any reason to be thankful to them. In Exodus chapter 1, verse 8 to 10, then a new king, to whom Joseph meant nothing, came to power in Egypt. "Look," he said, "the Israelites have become far too numerous for us. Come, we must deal shrewdly with them. If we go to war with our enemies, the Israelites will possibly join hands with them to fight us." So Pharaoh enslaved them. He assigned taskmasters to oversee their work. He made them build for him and doubled their suffering. Yet, the more they were oppressed, the more they multiplied. Desperate, Pharaoh gave a cruel order. He told the midwives that every girl born to Hebrew women should be left to live, but every Hebrew boy that is born you must throw into the Nile, meaning they had to kill all male children born unto Hebrews. Hebrew is a language that the lineage of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob spoke. The midwives feared God and refused to do as Pharaoh asked. Out of this darkness, God raised a deliverer. A Hebrew child was born to a woman named Jochebed, daughter of Levi. The child was a boy, and per Pharaoh's decree, he was to be drowned. His mother had him hidden for 3 months, and when she couldn't hide him anymore, she placed the baby boy in a basket and set him afloat upon the river Nile. One day, Pharaoh's daughter went to bath in the Nile River, and she saw the floating basket. Pharaoh's daughter opened the basket and saw the baby. He was crying, and she felt sorry for him. "This is one of the Hebrew babies," she said. Little did she know, this child would stand against kings. Pharaoh's daughter took the baby and told her maids to find a Hebrew woman to nurse him for her. They brought his mother, and the princess said, "Nurse him for me, and when he is grown, bring him to me." So his mother bussed him, and when he grew, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and the princess named him Moses, meaning she drew him from water. So his mother nursed him, and when he grew, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and the princess named him Moses, meaning she drew him from water. Moses grew up in Pharaoh's palace, but when he saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, he felt for his kin and struck him down. He saw 2 Egyptians beating another Hebrew, and he confronted them, asking, "Why do you treat him so?" The Egyptian answered Moses, asking him, "Why do you care? Will you kill me like you killed the other Egyptian?" Moses realized someone saw him and fleeing for his life. Moses escaped to Midian, where he married Zipporah and became a shepherd. In Exodus 2:23-25, now the Israelites groaned in their slavery and cried out, and God heard their groaning. He remembered his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that he would multiply their descendants and prosper them in the land of Canaan. One day, while tending the flock, Moses came to Horeb, the mountain of God. There, a bush burned with fire, but the bush was not consumed. God called to him from within the bush, "Moses, Moses." God's voice echoed through the fire, "I have seen the misery of my people. I have come down to rescue them. So now, go. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people out of Egypt." Moses trembled. "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh? Who do I even tell them sent me to rescue them?" But God replied, "I am who I am. Tell them I am has sent you." Moses further complained to God that he wasn't eloquent enough to speak, but God asked him, "Is Aaron the Levite not your brother?" "I know he speaks well. He shall be your mouthpiece, and you'll tell him what to say to the Israelites." Moses returned to Egypt, joined by his brother Aaron. They told the Israelites of God's plan to rescue them, and the Israelites bowed and worshipped God. Together, Moses and Aaron stood before Pharaoh. "This is what the Lord says. Let my people go, so that they may hold a festival to me in the wilderness." Pharaoh said, "Who is the Lord that I should obey him and let Israel go? I do not know the Lord, and I will not let Israel go." Pharaoh's heart was hard. Instead of freedom, he made their slavery even harsher. At first, the task officers helped gather straw so the Israelites could make brick, but Pharaoh changed the instruction. He said to let the Israelites gather the straw themselves, thereby doubling their burdens. Pharaoh believed they had some free time, and that's why they got the chance to pray or cry out to God. Pharaoh demanded that Moses show him signs that the Lord sent him, and Moses cast his rod to the ground, and it turned into a serpent. Pharaoh saw this and called his magicians to do the same, but Moses' rod swallowed the serpents of the magicians. This sign was not enough for Pharaoh, and Moses carried out the second task God gave him, to turn water into blood using his rod again, but Pharaoh's heart was still hardened. Then began a battle not just of men, but of gods. One by one, Yahweh struck Egypt with plagues. 1. God turned the river Nile to blood. Fish died and water stunk that they couldn't drink it. Frogs swarmed homes and all the land. 3. Gnats covered people. Flies infested Egypt. 5. Egyptian livestock died, whereas that of the Israelites lived. 6. Boils afflicted people. 7. Hail destroyed crops. 8. Locusts devoured what remained. 9. Darkness covered the land for 3 days. 10. Death of the firstborn, the final devastating blow. Even the magicians told pharaohs that these plagues were surely by the ginger of God, but Pharaoh's heart was still hardened. Through each plague, Pharaoh's heart hardened. He would agree to let them go to guile Moses into asking God to stop the plague, and change his mind the next day, until judgment fell upon every Egyptian household. But God provided salvation for his people. Each family was told to sacrifice a spotless lamb during the Passover, and mark their doorposts with its blood. God said to the Israelites, "The blood will be a sign for you, and when I see the blood, I will pass over you." That night, the angel of death struck Egypt. Wails of grief filled the land. But where the blood was applied, no harm came. Broken and defeated, Pharaoh summoned Moses. "Up, leave my people, you and the Israelites. Go, worship the Lord as you have requested." At the end of the 430 years, to the very day, all the Lord's divisions left Egypt. Led by a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night, the children of Israel marched out, a free people. Moses didn't forget to carry Joseph's bones, as Joseph told them before he died. "The God of Israel will visit you and rescue you, and when does, take my bones up from this place." But freedom would not come so easily. Pharaoh's heart hardened one last time. He wondered again why he'd let his laborers go. His 600 chariots thundered after them. Before the Israelites lay the sea, behind them death. By day the Lord went ahead of them in a pillar of cloud, and by night in a pillar of fire, to give them light. The story of deliverance was not over. The God who conquered Egypt was about to reveal his greatest miracle yet. John. Here. Pharaoh and the Egyptian soldiers drew closer, and when the Israelites saw them, they were afraid. They said to Moses, "You should have left us in Egypt to serve the Egyptians instead of bringing us to die in the wilderness." And Moses answered, saying, "Fear ye not, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will show to you today. For the Egyptians whom ye have seen today, ye shall see them again no more forever. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace." First, the angel of God that was in the camp of Israel moved from the front and went behind them to stand between them and the Egyptians. The cloud that lit this path from behind was causing darkness for the Egyptians. Then God told Moses to lift up his rod and stretch his hand over the sea, and divide it so the children of Israel could walk on dry land between the sea. Moses did this, and the waters formed high walls left and right. and the Egyptians followed swiftly after them. When the Israelites crossed safely, God caused fire to destroy the wheels of the chariots first, then told Moses to lift his rod, stretch it over the water, and cover the divide so that the sea would destroy the Egyptians completely. This great work of God blew the mind of the Israelites, and they feared God and believed his servants, Moses and Aaron. From Joseph's faith in famine to Moses' courage before Pharaoh, one truth shines. The Lord hears his people, and he will deliver. This is not just Israel's story. It is the story of a God who sets captives free. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more Bible stories told in powerful and engaging ways. Cities of wealth, cities of pleasure, cities that sparkled with prosperity but were rotting inside with corruption. Just like our nations now, which are filled with injustice, wickedness, and unrighteousness. The cries of their wickedness rose all the way to heaven, until the Lord himself said, I will go down and see if what they have done is as bad as the outcry that has reached me. This is the story of Lot, his wife, and the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. A story of divine judgment, of mercy extended, of choices made, and of the tragic cost of looking back. Stay with me as we journey through Genesis 18 and 19 to witness one of the most dramatic events in the Bible and uncover timeless lessons for our lives today. Before Sodom's destruction came a conversation between God and Abraham. Abraham, the friend of God, stood before the Almighty, pleading for mercy on behalf of the doomed cities. In Genesis 18:23-25, Abraham asked God, will you sweep away the righteous with the wicked? What if there are 50 righteous people in the city? Will you really sweep it away and not spare the place for the sake of the 50 righteous people in it? Far be it from you to do such a thing, to kill the righteous with the wicked. Will the judge of the whole earth not do right? Abraham negotiated down from 50. He said, what if there are 45 righteous people? Will you still destroy the entire city? The Lord said, if there are 45 righteous people, I will not destroy the city. Abraham negotiated some more. Lord, forgive me, but what if there are 40, 30, 20, even 10? God's patience and mercy shone through as he said, for the sake of 10, I will not destroy it. But there were not even 10 righteous people to be found. Abraham's prayer shows us the power of intercession. God listens to the cries of his people. Yet, it also shows the seriousness of sin. When corruption consumes a whole people, judgment is inevitable. But as you see in this story, for one righteous person, God can spare a whole nation. As evening fell, 2 angels arrived at the gates of Sodom. There, sitting in the city gate, was Lot, Abraham's nephew. He welcomed them warmly, bowed down, and insisted they come under his roof for protection. But soon, the corruption of the city revealed itself. Lot took them to his house and offered them food, water, and all-round hospitality. Before they had gone to bed, all the men from every part of the city of Sodom, both young and old, surrounded the house. They called to Lot, where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us so that we can know them. Lot tried to protect his guests, begging the men not to act so wickedly. He went out and shut the door behind him to plead with the men, saying, I have 2 virgin daughters, and I will bring them into you, so you can do as you will to them, but please do not harm these men, for they are my visitor, and as such I am responsible for them. They said to Lot, Stand back. We will do worse to you than we will do to them. Despite Lot's pleas, the crowd grew violent, pressing against the door, trying to break it down. Finally, having had enough, the angels pull Lot inside and strike the men blind. Both small and great were blind and couldn't find the door. Sodom's sin was not hidden. The lacked hospitality, the practiced sexual immorality to the point that they tried having homosexual relations with the angels. It was aggressive, shameless, and collective. It was a society that had normalized wickedness to the point of demanding it at the doorstep. They openly expressed their wicked desires, as many of us do today, not considering the consequences. After this terrifying night, the angels told Lot plainly, Do you have anyone else here, sons-in-law, sons, daughters, or anyone in the city? Get them out of here, because we are going to destroy this place. Because the cry of them is waxing great before the face of the Lord, and he has sent us to destroy this place. Lot hurried to his sons-in-law and begged them to flee. But they laughed, thinking he was joking. In Genesis 19:15-16, with the coming of dawn, the angels urged Lot, saying, Hurry, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, or you will be swept away when the city is punished. When he hesitated, the men grasped his hand, and the hands of his wife and of his 2 daughters, and led them safely out of the city. For the Lord was merciful to them. Even as judgment approached, Lot hesitated, and yet God's mercy took hold, literally pulling him and his family to safety. This is grace in action, God rescuing us, even when our faith is weak. As they escaped, the angels gave a stern command, Flee for your lives. Don't look back, and don't stop anywhere in the plain. Escape to the mountains, or you will be swept away. But Lot, still afraid, begged for a smaller request, to flee to the little town of Zoar instead of the mountains, since it was closer than the mountains. God, in mercy, granted this request. The angel said to Lot, Hastily go up to the town Zoar, for I cannot do anything to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah until you've made it there safely. Lot, his wife, and daughters rushed toward Zoar as dawn broke. Behind them, the cities prepared for their fiery fate. Even in escape, Lot wrestled with fear and compromise. Yet God's mercy still met him where he was. As the sun rose over the plain, judgment came. The skies opened, and fire and brimstone rained down from heaven. In Genesis 19:24-25, then the Lord rained down fire and brimstone and burning sulfur on Sodom and Gomorrah from the Lord out of the heavens. Thus he overthrew those cities and the entire plain, destroying all those living in the cities and also the vegetation in the land. The once fertile plain, compared to the garden of the Lord, became a wasteland. Flames devoured homes, smoke billowed like a furnace. The cries of a wicked city were silenced forever. This destruction is one of the most sobering judgments in Scripture, a reminder that God is patient, but his patience has limits. In the midst of this chaos, tragedy struck. Despite the warning of the angels, Lot's wife, walking behind him, turned back. In that moment, she became a pillar of salt. In Genesis chapter 19, verse 26, but Lot's wife looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. She was rescued, yet her heart remained in Sodom. She looked back, longing for what God had condemned. Her fate became a permanent monument, a warning through the ages. How often do we look back at what God has called us to leave behind? Jesus himself would later say in Luke 17:32, "Remember Lot's wife. Her story is brief, but her lesson is eternal." From a hilltop, Abraham, who is Lot's uncle and his intercessor, rose early and looked out over the plain. He looked down towards Sodom and Gomorrah, toward all the land of the plain, and he saw dense smoke rising from the land like smoke from a furnace. Abraham sees the land that was once green and thriving, now desolate. Lot settled in a cave with his daughters, afraid, alone, broken. His daughters, believing no men are left, act desperately, leading to a tragic legacy. The Moabites and Ammonites. The firstborn said to the younger sister, "Our father is old, and there isn't a man in the earth to come in unto us after the manner of all the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father." And the firstborn went in and lay with her father, and he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. And it came to pass on the morrow, that the firstborn said unto the younger, "Behold, I lay yesternight with my father. Let us make him drink wine this night also, and go thou in, and lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father." And they made their father drink wine that night also. And the younger arose and lay with him, and he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. Thus were both the daughters of Lot with child by their father. And the firstborn bare a son, and called his name Moab. The same is the father of the Moabites unto this day. And the younger, she also bare a son, and called his name Ben-Ammi. The same is the father of the children of Ammon unto this day. We have much to learn from this, but here are a few lessons to note. 1. God's patience has limits. He delays judgment, but not forever. 2. The power of intercession. Abraham's prayer shows that the righteous can move God's hand. 3. The cost of hesitation. Lot almost lost everything because he lingered. 4. The danger of looking back. Lot's wife teaches us that attachment to sin can destroy us. 5. God rescues the righteous. Even in judgment, mercy shines through. The story of Lot, his wife, and the fall of Sodom and Gomorrah is more than ancient history. It's a mirror. A warning that sin destroys. A reminder that God's mercy reaches out even to the hesitant. And a call to move forward without looking back. Which path will we take? The path of destruction or the path of deliverance? Jesus said in Luke 17:32-33, "Remember Lot's wife. Whoever tries to keep their life will lose it, and whoever loses their life for my sake will preserve it." Thank you for joining me on this journey through Genesis 18 and 19. If this story has moved you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, reflect on it, and remember, God is merciful, but he also calls us to leave behind what he has condemned. Until next time, stay rooted in the Word.
Her name was Hagar, a servant, a woman of sorrow, yet also of promise. From the house of Abraham to the wilderness of despair, her story reveals a God who sees the forgotten and hears the cries of the broken-hearted. We often talk about Sarah, Abraham's wife, but forget that there is an entire nation that came through his concubine, Hagar. Join us as we uncover the dramatic journey of Hagar, the mother of Ishmael. In Abraham's household lived Sarah, his barren wife, and Hagar, her Egyptian maidservant. Though Abraham was promised descendants as numerous as the stars, Sarah grew weary of waiting. In Genesis 16:2, Sarah said to her husband Abraham, "The Lord has kept me from having children. Go, sleep with my maidservant. Perhaps I can build a family through her." Hagar became Abraham's wife, and soon she conceived. But what began as hope quickly turned to rivalry. When Hagar realized she was with child, she despised her mistress. She would rub her belly with pride, as if to mock her mistress, and Sarah, wounded with jealousy, mistreated her. The maltreatment became unbearable, and, in her anguish, Hagar ran away into the wilderness. While there, she was dying of thirst with no drop of water in sight. Hagar was hopeless. Hagar collapsed near a desert spring, tears streaming down her face. There, by a spring on the road to Shur, the angel of the Lord appeared. The angel thundered, "Hagar, servant of Sarai, where have you come from, and where are you going?" Hagar answered, "I'm running away from my mistress Sarai." The angel replied, "Go back and submit to her. I will increase your descendants so much that they will be too numerous to count. You are now pregnant, and you will give birth to a son. You shall name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard your misery." Hagar's face was filled with awe. She called the Lord who spoke to her, El Roi, the God who sees me. For in her despair she had been seen by the Almighty. Hagar returned and bore a son to Abraham. Abraham was overjoyed and named him Ishmael. The boy grew, and Abraham loved him. Yet beneath the joy, tension simmered in Sarah's heart. Abraham and Sarah were over 90 years old, but God promised to give them a child of promise. He promised Abraham that he would have descendants as numerous as the stars. Years later, God's promise was fulfilled. Sarah gave birth to Isaac, the child of promise. But when Sarah saw Ishmael mocking Isaac during the celebration, her jealousy ignited once more. Sarah said to her husband, "Get rid of that slave woman and her son, for that woman's son will never share in the inheritance with my son Isaac." Abraham was torn and felt sorrow for his son Ishmael. The matter distressed Abraham greatly. But God said, "Do not be so distressed. Listen to Sarah, for it is through Isaac that your offspring will be reckoned. Yet I will also make the son of the slave woman into a nation, because he is your offspring." Early the next morning, Abraham grudgingly placed bread and water upon Hagar's shoulder and sent her away with Ishmael. Alone, mother and son wandered the harsh desert of Beersheba. When the water ran out, Hagar placed her child under a bush in the blazing sun. Unable to watch him die, she sat at a distance, lifted her voice, and wept. Ishmael was breathing faintly, but God heard the boy's cry. And from heaven, the angel of God called to Hagar. The angel thundered, "What is the matter, Hagar? Do not be afraid. God has heard the boy crying. Lift him up and take him by the hand, for I will make him into a great nation." God opened her eyes, and she saw a well. She filled the skin with water and gave Ishmael a drink. The child revived, for the Lord was with him. Ishmael grew in the desert of Paran, strong and free. He became an archer, a leader, and Hagar secured for him a wife from Egypt. From him came 12 sons, 12 princes, who became the fathers of great tribes. God's promise was fulfilled. Ishmael became a nation. Hagar, once a servant, watched her son from afar with pride. She was once cast away, then became the mother of a mighty people. Twice she was rejected, but never abandoned. For the God who sees, and the God who hears, was with her. The Lord is close to the broken-hearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit, as you'll see in Psalm 34:18. The story of Hagar reminds us, even in our wilderness, God sees. Even in our cries, God hears.
Imagine walking out of the only life you've ever known, slavery in a foreign land, with nothing but faith and the hope of freedom. Behind you, the most powerful empire on earth is in pursuit. Ahead of you lies a desert filled with uncertainty. This is the story of the Exodus, a journey of miracles, rebellion, laws written by the very hand of God, and the promise of a land flowing with milk and honey. Stay with me as we walk with Moses and the Israelites from the Red Sea to the edge of the Promised Land. The people of Israel had finally left Egypt, but Pharaoh had a change of heart. With his army of 600 chariots, he pursued them to the edge of the sea. Trapped between water and war, the Israelites cried out in fear. They challenged Moses, saying, "Why did you bring us out of Egypt? You could have left us to serve the Egyptians. Now we are going to die here." But Moses declared in Exodus 14:13, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. For the Egyptians you see today, you shall see no more." Moses stretched out his staff, and God drove back the waters with a mighty wind. A wall of water rose on their right and on their left. The Israelites walked through on dry ground, a miracle never seen before. When Pharaoh's army followed, God caused the waters to collapse, drowning them. The people sang with joy, led by Moses and Miriam, his sister. The song read, "The Lord is my strength and my defense. He has become my salvation." From slavery to freedom, the Exodus had truly begun. 3 days into the desert, the people faced thirst. At Marah, the waters were bitter. The people complained to Moses again, expressing that they'd die from drinking bitter water.
But the Lord showed Moses a piece of wood, and when he threw it into the water, it became sweet. God was teaching them to trust his provision. Soon hunger struck. They grumbled, remembering Egypt's food. Again, wishing that they were still under their Egyptian masters. At the very least, they'd have had food. But God answered. Each morning, bread from heaven appeared on the ground, and the Israelites called it manna. Exodus 16:31 describes it as white like coriander seed and tasted like wafers made with honey. At twilight, quail covered the camp. God provided daily, reminding them to depend on him, not their own strength. God gave instructions that when the bread and quails fall from heaven, the Israelites should only gather as much as they needed for only 1 day. Manna, which is bread, should be gathered for breakfast in the morning when it falls, and quail, which is meat, should be gathered for supper when it falls. The Bible explains that manna looked like coriander seed, white in color, and it tasted like wafers with milk and honey. This would have been grand in this day too. Not more than a day's food for God would provide for each day, but they didn't listen. They went out and packed double the portions, thinking they could outsmart God, but the excess they gathered turned to maggots and stunk the next day. Moses was furious with them for disobeying God. God reiterated his instructions to Moses, saying, "Every day, you should gather as much as you need for 1 day, except for the 6th day. On the 6th day, you can gather twice as much, because on the 7th day, which is the Sabbath, thou shalt not work, not the maid, nor thy camels, nor you shall work. So gather twice the portion so that you will have enough for 2 days." When they gathered double the manna and quails on the 6th day, they ate the portion for the 6th day and remained for the 7th day. To their shock, that extra didn't spoil, stink, or even bring maggots. Moses explained to them that this was God's instruction, otherwise it would have spoiled. And Moses said, "This is the thing which the Lord commandeth. Fill an omer of it to be kept for your generations. that they may see the bread wherewith I have fed you in the wilderness, when I brought you forth from the land of Egypt. And Moses said unto Aaron, Take a pot, and put an omer full of manna therein, and lay it up before the Lord, to be kept for your generations. And the children of Israel did eat manna 40 years, until they came to a land inhabited. They did eat manna, until they came unto the borders of the land of Canaan. Now an omer is the 10th part of an ephah. Now an omer is an ancient Israelite unit of measurement equivalent to 43 eggs in today's world. They traveled some more, and, again, the people quarreled for water. They said to Moses, Did you bring us out of Egypt, so we could die of thirst in the wilderness? Moses cried to God, fearing they might stone him, for they were an impatient set of people. They took every opportunity to question God and his servant Moses. To this, God instructed Moses, Strike the rock at Horeb, and water will come out for the people to drink. And living water flowed from a solid rock, a miracle pointing to God's life-giving power. Soon after, Amalek attacked the Israelites. Now Amalek was the grandson of Esau, and Esau was the twin brother of Jacob, who the Lord renamed Israel. Jacob was the ancestor of all the Israelites traveling with Moses in the wilderness. If you recall, Jacob deceived his twin brother Esau and stole his blessing from their father, and Esau swore to kill his brother Jacob for his treachery. Jacob fled, and 20 years later, the twin brothers reconciled, but maybe the descendants still held grudges, as Amalek would display here. Joshua led Israel's army, while Moses stood on a hill, hands lifted in prayer. When his hands were raised, Israel prevailed. When he grew weary, Amalek gained ground. Aaron and Hur supported his hands until sunset, and Israel won. Victory came not by might, but by prayer and God's power. 3 months after leaving Egypt, Israel camped at Mount Sinai. Thunder roared, lightning flashed, and a thick cloud covered the mountain. The ground trembled as the sound of a trumpet grew louder. Exodus 19:18 says, Mount Sinai was covered with smoke, because the Lord descended on it in fire. And Moses went up unto God, and the Lord called unto him out of the mountain, saying, Thus shalt thou say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Israel, Ye have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bare you on eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself. Now therefore, if ye will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. And ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests, and an holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. And Moses came and called for the elders of the people, and laid before their faces all these words which the Lord commanded him. And all the people answered together, and said, All that the Lord hath spoken we will do. And Moses returned the words of the people unto the Lord. On Mount Sinai God gave his covenant. From the mountain his voice thundered the 10 commandments. 1. I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. 2. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the 3rd and 4th generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. 3. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. 4. 6 days shalt thou labor, and do all thy work, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. It's never, in it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the 7th day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day, and hallowed it. 5. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. 6. Thou shalt not kill. 7. Thou shalt not commit adultery. 8. Thou shalt not steal. 9. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. 10. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. In summary, these are the 10 commandments. 1. You shall have no other gods before me. 2. You shall not make idols. 3. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord. 4. Remember the Sabbath day. 5. Honor your father and mother. 6. You shall not murder. 7. You shall not commit adultery. 8. You shall not steal. 9. You shall not give false testimony. 10. You shall not covet. The people trembled in fear, saying, Speak to us yourself, Moses, and we will listen, but do not have God speak to us, or we will die. The holy God had revealed his will. But as Moses remained on the mountain for 40 days, the people grew impatient. They said to Aaron, Make us gods who will go before us. Aaron fashioned a golden calf from their jewelry, and the people bowed to it, celebrating idolatry. God's anger burned, ready to destroy them. But Moses interceded. Turn from your fierce anger. Relent and do not bring disaster on your people. Moses descended from the mount, broke the tablets of stone where God had written the 10 commandments, and destroyed the idol. Later, he went again before God, begging forgiveness because his anger had overtaken him. In mercy, God renewed his covenant. He revealed his glory to Moses, declaring in Exodus 34:6, The Lord, the compassionate and gracious God, slow to anger, abounding in love and faithfulness. Even in failure, God's grace shone brighter. God gave detailed instructions for a sanctuary, the tabernacle, where his presence would dwell. The people gave generously to build it, gold, silver, bronze, fabrics, and precious stones. Skilled artisans crafted the Ark of the Covenant, the lampstand, and the altar. When the work was finished, Exodus 40:34 records, Then the cloud covered the tent of meeting, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. Imagine the Creator of heaven and earth chose to live among his people, guiding them with a pillar of cloud by day and fire by night. The wilderness was not easy. Time and again the people grumbled. They longed for Egypt's food, and God sent quail, but also judgment. Even Moses' own siblings, Miriam and Aaron, opposed him. Miriam was struck with leprosy until Moses prayed for her healing. When they reached the border of Canaan, 12 spies went to scout the land. 10 returned fearful, saying, We seem like grasshoppers in our own eyes. Only Joshua and Caleb trusted God. Israel's unbelief led to 40 years of wandering, 1 year for each day the spies searched. During those years, God still provided. Manna never ceased, their clothes never wore out. In Numbers 21, when serpents attacked the camp, God told Moses to raise a bronze serpent on a pole. Whoever looked at it lived. As the 40 years ended, Moses prepared Israel for the land ahead. He charged Joshua with leadership. Be strong and courageous, for the Lord your God goes with you. Deuteronomy 31:6. He read the law once more, reminding the people of God's faithfulness. He sang a song of warning and blessing, then blessed each tribe. Finally, Moses climbed Mount Nebo. From its heights, God showed him the land flowing with milk and honey, the promised land, though he would not enter as God had told him. Deuteronomy 34:5 tells us, Moses, the servant of the Lord, died there in Moab, as the Lord had said. God buried him in Moab, but to this day no one knows where his grave is. Moses' story ended, but the promise continued. Joshua would lead the people into Canaan, fulfilling God's covenant. The Exodus story is not just Israel's journey, it's ours too. From bondage to freedom, from fear to faith, from wandering to promise. We too face deserts, temptations, and trials. But the same God who parted the Red Sea, who provided manna, who gave his word on Sinai, and who guided his people, is still faithful today. The Exodus reminds us we are never alone in the wilderness. God goes before us, behind us, and with us until we reach the promised land. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more Bible stories told in powerful and engaging ways.